Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your source material, all that complex research and those surprising facts, and we pull out the knowledge you need.
And today we are really diving into something that sounds, well, almost unbelievable.
It really does. When you picture the Sahara Desert, you're thinking heat, you're thinking endless sand dunes, and just total hostility to life.
Right.
The very last thing that comes to mind is shrimp.
Yeah,
Aquatic, delicate, water-loving creatures.
exactly. And our sources today are all about these tiny evolutionary marvels. We're talking about desert shrimp that have basically solved the two biggest problems in the desert. A total lack of water and extreme saltiness.
It honestly sounds like science fiction. This is the largest hot desert on Earth, 9 million square kilometers. It's just a furnace. We're talking temperatures that get up over 50 degrees Celsius, massive dust storms, haboobs that just tear across the landscape.
And almost no rain.
Yeah.
Some areas get less than 25 millimeters a year. It's just incredibly dry.
So finding aquatic life there feels fundamentally wrong. But the sources are clear, the shrimp are real, and the way they survive is just magnificent.
They're the ultimate proof of biological tenacity. And our sources really focus on the little water that is there. It's not just rare. A lot of the time, it's basically toxic.
How so?
Well, it's often highly alkaline, and because of all the evaporation, it's incredibly salty. And the key thing is, it's temporary. It doesn't last.
These little temporary pools, right? The geltas.
Exactly. So this whole deep dive is our mission to figure out the biological hacks these creatures use to survive a dry spell that could last for years or even decades.
Okay, so let's unpack this resilience. We're about to get into some really fascinating biology, but first, a quick note about our community.
Right.
If this kind of analysis is, expanding your mind, we'd really love for you to join us over on the Mind Expansion Daily channel.
We really do appreciate hearing your thoughts on all this stuff. It helps drive the conversation.
Absolutely. So while you're listening, just take a second to hit that like button and maybe share this deep dive with someone else who'd find it interesting. And hey, if you want to buy us a cup of coffee to fuel these research sessions, the link is right below. We are definitely powered by caffeine and curiosity.
That we are.
Oh, let us know where you're listening from in the comments. We love seeing how far these conversations go.
You do.
Okay, back to the sand and the salt. Let's start with the species that doesn't just tolerate salt, it loves it. The creatures a lot of us know as sea monkeys.
We are talking about the brine shrimp, genus Artemia. These are the masters of salty water. They're what we call halophiles, which literally means salt lovers.
And in the Sahara, you find them in these hypersaline lakes, right? In oases or on those big salt flats.
That's right, the sabkas.
Yeah.
And when you say hypersaline,
Yeah.
that's almost an understatement.
Yeah, the numbers in the source material are just shocking.
They really are. Because of that insane heat and the lack of drainage, evaporation is just relentless. So all the minerals get concentrated to levels that would kill almost any other organism instantly.
How concentrated are we talking?
The sources say brine shrimp can thrive in water with salinity up to 10 times that of the ocean.
10 times. Wow. Okay, so that's not really a pool anymore. It's a brine solution.
It's basically a pickling solution, yeah.
So wait, if it's that extreme, why haven't other things evolved to live there, like super tough fish or insects? Is the energy cost just too high?
That's the core of it. The survival mechanism is this incredibly complex process called osmoregulation, and the cost is huge. Think of their gills as little desalination plants just running on overdrive.
Okay.
They're constantly using energy to actively pump the extra salt ions out of their bodies just to keep their internal fluids balanced.
So they're spending almost all their energy just fighting the environment to avoid, turning into a little salt-cured shrimp.
Exactly. And you can actually see the evidence of that fight. Brine shrimp are often this bright red or pink color.
Right.
That's because they're full of these specialized proteins like hemoglobin to carry more oxygen. They need it because that fight against the salt is so metabolically expensive, especially in water that doesn't hold much oxygen to begin with.
So they've carved out a niche that is so extreme, no one else can afford to compete.
Precisely. They win by making the game too hard for everyone else to play.
That's brilliant. But that brings us to the second group, the fairy shrimp, the anastraca. They're not fighting chemistry so much as they're fighting time.
Yes, if brine shrimp beat the salt, the fairy shrimp beat the clock. Their whole existence is tied to these vernal pools.
These are the super short-lived puddles that show up after a rare rainstorm.
Exactly. They might only last for a few weeks before the sun just bakes them away. So for these shrimp, once the rain stops, the countdown begins.
And they look so delicate, too. Like, They're translucent and seem really fragile compared to the brine shrimp.
They are. And that fragility just highlights the incredible speed of their life cycle. They have to hatch, grow to maturity, mate, and lay a new generation of eggs before that pool is completely gone.
A whole life cycle in, what, a few weeks?
Sometimes, yeah. It is a spectacular, high-stakes race against the clock.
The sources also mention something weird about their behavior. They swim upside down. Why would they do that? It seems inefficient.
You'd think so, but it's actually highly efficient for what they need to do. They're filter feeders.
Okay.
So swimming on their back lets them use their legs to create a little current that funnels algae and bacteria right into their mouths. In a nutrient-poor puddle in the desert, you have to maximize every single opportunity for food.
And during that short time they're alive, they become this critical part of the whole desert ecosystem.
Oh, absolutely. They're like an instant protein boom in an otherwise empty landscape.
Whoa.
They become this huge, vital food source for migrating birds flying over the desert.
And when their populations explode, the water can actually turn pink or red, right?
Yes, it's incredible. You get this pink lake in the middle of a brown desert. It's partly from their hemoglobin, but also from carotenoid pigments they produce. It's basically a biological sunscreen.
And the birds aren't just predators here. They're part of the shrimp's long-term survival plan.
A crucial part. The birds eat the shrimp, but the eggs, the cysts, they get stuck to their feet and feathers, or even pass through their digestive systems.
And get carried hundreds of miles away to a new pool.
Exactly. It ensures the species survives across a huge, fragmented landscape.
Okay, this is where it gets, for me, just truly mind-blowing. This is the ultimate survival hack that both of these shrimp species share. If the pools are gone for years at a time, how does life bridge that gap?
That is the magic trick. It's called cryptobiosis.
Suspended animation.
More than that, really. It's a state where their metabolism doesn't just slow down, it stops completely. The shrimp themselves die when the pool dries up, but their eggs are the ultimate survival pods.
So it's not like hibernation. They are genuinely paused,
Right.
biologically frozen in time.
That's the key. These eggs, or cysts, are like biological bunkers. The sources detail what they can handle, and it's just incredible. They can survive freezing, they can survive near boiling temperatures, they can take lethal doses of radiation.
And for the Sahara, most importantly, total desiccation. The complete removal of all water.
Total desiccation. They can be baked in the desert sediment, buried under sand, blown for miles in a herboob, and they just remain paused.
That's not just being tough. That's a level of biological engineering that is just perfect.
It is. The shell is incredibly robust, and inside, the cells are essentially vitrified. They're locked in place by special proteins, halting all chemical reactions. And so those eggs can lie dormant in the dry dust for years, maybe even decades.
Decades.
Just patiently waiting for one thing: the return of water.
That timescale is so hard to comprehend. It puts them in the same category as other extremophiles, like tardigrades.
Absolutely. They basically outsource their survival to the next generation, which is protected inside this perfect little biological space capsule.
So what's the bigger picture here? What does all this mean beyond just, being a cool story about a tough little creature?
Well, the evolutionary context is huge. These shrimp are, in a way, living fossils. They're evolutionary holdouts.
From when the Sahara was green, right?
Exactly. Millions of years ago, the Sahara was much wetter. It had huge lakes and river systems. You see ancient rock art of hippos and crocodiles there.
Things that need a lot of water.
A lot of permanent water. These shrimp are the descendants of ancient aquatic life that survived the continent drying out. They managed to cling on by evolving this cryptobiosis trick as their permanent homes vanished and turned into fleeting puddles.
So their survival is basically a genetic record of surviving continental-scale climate change.
It is. And that has incredible relevance for us today. In a world facing more drought and desertification, studying the biochemistry of these cysts, the proteins that allow cells to just shut down, that could lead to some radical new technologies.
Like what?
Well, better water conservation, obviously. But think about long-term seed storage for agriculture, or even stabilizing medicines without needing refrigeration. If we can figure out how a shrimp egg preserves life perfectly for 50 years in the sand, maybe we can apply those same principles to our own problems.
It's incredible to think that a tiny crustacean baked into the desert might hold a key to something like global drought resistance.
And we're still just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Scientists are still finding new, unique species of these crustaceans in remote Saharan rock pools. It just shows how much biodiversity is still hidden out there, even in places we assume are completely lifeless.
Wow. The desert shrimp just completely challenge our basic assumptions about where life can exist. They're this ultimate testament to the adaptability and the sheer resilience of life itself.
That's the critical takeaway. These tiny survivors prove the conditions we might call impossible are really just challenges waiting for the right evolutionary toolkit.
A perfect way to put it.
So it leaves you with a thought, right? If life can thrive for decades in a biological pause, just waiting for rain in the middle of the Sahara, what assumptions are you holding about what's impossible in your work or in your life that these tiny survivors might challenge?
A truly provocative thought to end on. Thank you for providing the sources for this deep dive. Keep exploring the weird science out there because you just never know what wonders are hiding right under the sand. We'll be back next time with another deep dive.